You're listening to the Necromaniacs podcast.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Necromaniacs horror podcast. And of course, that means it's Necro Thursday. How's it going, Mike?
It is going well. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. As Mike said, it is Necro Thursday. You're listening to Necromaniacs podcast, the greatest horror podcast in the world. How you doing, Mr. Hill? How you feeling?
Dude, this week's been rough, man. I gotta tell you. It's tomorrow. We're actually recording this on a Thursday, just to let you guys know. So
Yes.
we're recording this on Necro Thursday. So that's interesting.
Yes,
So tomorrow is technically my last day at my job, right? And you know how like sometimes like you leave your job and like the last few days are kind of just like you coast a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not in my case. They've been
I've
been working harder than ever over the last couple of days, dude.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, man. I think my boss is like pissed at me for leaving and he's like just like torturing me, you know what I mean? Yeah.
You know, usually for most people, the last few days of a job are not super intense, I would say. So I might say, yeah, he might be mad at you. Yeah, unfortunately.
Like all these meetings and he was gonna send tomorrow's my last day, but it works out where I'm literally just going into the city to drop off my computer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I probably do like a couple hours worth of work in the morning, but
Mhm.
go in there, drop off my computer. They give me a phone, so I got to bring that back, and
Mhm.
then I'm just gonna peace out, call it a day, man. The funny thing is like there's literally gonna be no one besides the IT guys in our office on Fridays. Like no one ever comes in on Friday, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
myself in the office basically, and then just I'm gonna leave like unceremoniously exit the building, you know, at noon or something like that.
It's weird that they're pulling you into meetings like you're not going to be there. Like that's wild. Hmm.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I know. Today I had a meeting this afternoon and it's about, agreeing to do all this stuff, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. Like,
It's like punishment. It's like punishment for leaving meeting. That's probably what
oh,
it is.
and this also is a testament to how pissed off my boss is. It's like, no goodbye lunch, man. You know,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm.
I didn't even get taken out for lunch, man.
Hmm. No after work drinks for Mike. No.
Nope.
Hmm.
Hell no, man.
All
I,
right.
I'm big on like a lunch, not
Mhm.
so much a hang around after work kind of guy, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the goodbye lunch is better because, well, it's on work's time. That's the best part.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree
I
with you on that
usually
one.
I usually got stuff to do right. Usually I go right from work to something else. So I don't want to
Mm.
fuck around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. Well, on to greener pastures, Mike. You got the tour coming up, and
Oh
then
yeah.
after the tour, you start a new job.
That's right. That's right. And a new old job, but it's all good. So I'm looking forward to it. And hey, for all intents and purposes, today was my last day. Tomorrow just
Mhm.
a wake up and a drop off, and that's it for me.
All right, you can enjoy the rest of your Friday. That's
That's
nice.
right. Yeah.
Awesome. So, listeners, if you've been paying attention to the last few episodes, we have been very Dario Argento centric. And tonight, before we do the plugs and a phone call, letting you know we're going to be covering the excellent new Dario Argento documentary titled Dario Argento Panico from director Simone Scafidi, which is exclusively on Shudder. It basically came to the service, I believe, February 2nd, Mike. So brand spanking new for the new year.
Right. And you know what, man? It's like what I have to say, Shudder is still the home of horror. I know that
Oh,
there's
yeah.
been like it looks like things are on the upswing again for them. And it looks
Yeah.
like they're gonna last. And I know that there's a little bit of their future might have been in question for a
Mm-hmm.
while. And there's some pretenders to the throne out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say that the home of horror is still Shudder, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And then this weekend, they got a new Joe Bob. I mean, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think rumors of their demise in the middle of last year were false. So, yeah, man, they got some good stuff. They've got some good new movies coming to the service that look really cool, you know. And there's a few things that newish things that I want to check out too that may make its way to the Necromaniacs podcast. So, yeah, tip in the hat to Shudder. It's about 6, $7 a month, listeners. If you don't have it, you should probably get it. No?
Oh yeah, if you're a horror fan and you don't have Shudder, you're blowing it.
Yep, straight up. But we're going to get to the plugs, folks. We've got a cabal, a crew, a gang, a horseman of fellow podcasters that we like to support, right, Mike?
That's correct. And kicking the week off, every other Monday, we've got Horror Wolf 666 brought to you by Brandon Legion. And it's been confirmed that Brandon and I will hang out on this upcoming tour when I'm
Cool.
playing. I'm not even going to say close to where he lives, but he's coming out to one of the shows. So I'm
Oh,
stoked.
wow, that's great.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. We hung out a while back in person when we were down there with Cloak, and it was just really cool to hang. And his lovely wife is great too, and then she's going to accompany him, and I'm really looking forward. That's going to be a highlight for me.
Awesome. And yeah, I remember when you guys met on the Cloak Tour. Very solid guy. And yeah, make sure you're supporting and hitting the subscribe button on the Horror Wolf 666 podcast. Coming to you every Tuesday. Why, it is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Jackie Smith, and the Into the Necrosphere podcast for all of your extreme metal needs. On Wednesday, we have Everything Went Black, hosted by none other than Mike Hill himself, coming at you every Wednesday, right, Mike?
And right about now, we're doing a little best of while I'm out on the road. So so just hang in there for some new episodes. It's only some of the stuff you haven't heard if you're just only listening to the free stream. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you would have heard these unless you're new, and that in that case it might be new to you.
Exactly. On Thursday, kids, while you're listening to it right now, it's the Necromaniacs podcast. Hit that subscribe button, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Keep that support coming in. Send us those Instagram messages. We love it. On Friday, we have none other than John Draper's very own Spitball Media. They cover lots of different things, mainly film, television, entertainment news. Make sure you check that out. Saturday, take a break. But on Sunday, Mike, who do we got?
On Sunday, we have Carl Hikara's Soul Knocks. Carl also posts new episodes on Thursday, so he's hitting you guys twice a week with content. And if you're into darkness, the macabre, anything weird and uncanny, definitely check out his show. He's got a bunch of cool interviews on there, deep dives into certain subjects. And also, Carl and I are collaborating on a show called Darkness Weaves. It comes out once a month. We alternate which podcast hosts it, and it's a dive into the work of Carl Edward Wagner. And right now we're doing the Kane short stories. We're going to be hitting the whole group of that. And Wagner's one of these authors out there who he's done heroic fantasy, dark fantasy. He's done weird fiction. He's done horror, and has influenced to a certain extent Nick Pizzolatto, the creator of True Detective. So if you're a True Detective fan and you like the first season, which I think most people do, definitely check out Wagner. Check out his short story Sticks, which is like pretty much you can see the influence on that show through that short story. So Carl and I have been getting through all this stuff.
Excellent. And then on Sunday, we have the rather elusive, mysterious Cheyenne of Trivax with his Iblis Manifestations podcast, right, Mike?
That's right. And he's just operating on his own timetable.
Hmm.
And he's like Colonel Kurtz, from Apocalypse Now.
Right.
He just got his own modus operandi.
That's right. So yeah, make sure you hit the subscribe button on his podcast as well. And there you have it, the horseman of the podcasting apocalypse. Um, let's see, Mike. Do we have a phone call?
We got one phone call this time around. And we've been banging out these episodes. So there's the timing is a little odd. Like one
Mhm.
episode we didn't have any callers, and then we had two, and then now we got one.
Yes.
But we regularly get everyone calling in, and we really love hearing from everybody. So before I go into who it is, I'm gonna let you guys know that the Necro phone is 908-913-0782. 908-913-0782. And we got Mike from Pennsylvania calling in. That's
That's right.
a regular, and we always love hearing from Mike.
Yo, Necro Hoods. It's Mike from Telford. It's Monday afternoon, so I probably missed this week's episode. I'm sure you guys taped it already, but had kind of a busy weekend, so just wanted to highlight a couple things we watched this week. We watched a movie last night called Killer's Delight, also known as The Sport Killer. I think it was like the first time anybody had kind of made a movie based on an actual serial killer case. It's from '78, so I could be wrong about that. But it seems to be like a Ted Bundy story, but it was more like a cop show episode or something from the '70s. I'm not sorry I watched it. It's interesting. There's some scary, or shocking violence in it, but just a couple of scenes. But John Carlin is in it from Daughters of Darkness, so it was cool to see him. He plays the killer, and it's a pretty good performance of him being kind of a psycho. But the other movie we watched is from the early '70s. It's an Italian movie called The Frightened Woman. It's also known as The Laughing Woman. And I don't really know how to describe that. The set pieces are just crazy. They're like Danger, Diabolique fucking level craziness. But it's not a comic book movie. It kind of reminded me of The Collector, the Terrence Stamp movie, The Collector from early '70s. Except this Italian movie has a twist at the end that I did not see coming. And it's actually a really good script that way, that it makes sense in the end, where some of these Italian movies just kind of lose you and throw in the red herrings. This was actually a good, complete story, so check them out if you haven't seen them. And the episode last week was great. We watched that movie. My girlfriend had actually recommended that I call you about that, the Julia Roberts movie. I can't remember what it was called, but I didn't like it at all. But I'm kind of stuck in old man mode with these newer things, but the episode made me kind of reconsider it, so I might watch it again. But anyway, hope you guys had a good week. Look forward to this Thursday. And later, I'll talk to you soon. Later, guys.
No, I gotta say, I have not heard of any of these films that Mike has brought up. Are you familiar with any of these?
No. And you know what? That is what I like so much about Mike. Mike is super. I think Mike's around my age, maybe 50, 51. He's super in tune with the '60s and '70s oddity stuff that is so fucking cool. And Mike, I'm very happy to hear that your fighting days are over. But you know, I have a funny feeling you're a man who could handle himself nonetheless. But it is good though. Sometimes you have to ride off into the sunset, Mike Hill. Don't you agree?
Oh, I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I think that maybe we should do like just some of these. Like I'm so interested in checking these recommendations out. Maybe we need to address some of these like in upcoming episodes.
Yes. There's definitely one or two that we should outright cover and devote an episode to. So thank you so much, our good friend.
And once again, stoked that he checked out Leave the World Behind. That was the title of the movie with Julia Roberts that he was referring to. Interesting movie. Interesting. Very interesting film.
Yeah, it's a movie I've thought about after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that had that word of mouth from certain sectors that I would go into it and maybe not like it, but I went into it and I didn't prejudge it at all, and I liked it, and I liked the ending. A lot of people bitched about the ending. I liked the ending actually. I would have actually liked to have seen a little more of the society deterioration, so to speak, like
Yeah.
the fucked upness. But they only gave you a little bit of that, But what I liked and I thought was a cool ending, spoiler alert, was that the young girl got to see her Friends episode, her final episode of the Friends series. And I don't know, I thought something about that was kind of cool. Like, and honestly, she was the only person in the movie that like you kind of didn't think was like either annoying or like, you know what I'm saying? Like she had no bad qualities. She's just a young girl, in the midst of the end of the world. And she just wanted to see how Friends ended. And it was just, there's something about that I got a kick out of. And she got her wish. And you know what? The whole family and everybody might have died the next day, but at least the poor girl got to see what she wanted to see. So that's why I like the ending.
Totally, dude. The more I think about that film, the more I like it. Like I know I might have had a couple of trepidations about it, but as time goes on and I think about it and I kind of unravel that story, I think it's really cool. I actually think, and I'm not sure if Jeff and I discussed this or not, but I think it would have been better served as a mini series, like maybe 4 episodes or 3 episodes or
Yeah.
something.
Okay. Okay. Like I did want to know more about like the dastardly stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they really just kind of scratched the surface, with how all this was unraveling, right? But I tell you, I wasn't bored. I was invested. I was, oh, I'm not going to use the word scared, but I was very like, what the fuck's going to happen next? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of that. Like, I don't know how this movie's going to end. I don't know how this is going to go. Like, is it really the end of the world? Is it not the end of the world? Like, I thought that like the director and the script did a good job of keeping the viewer, or at least this viewer, invested.
Definitely, man. And I think that if the world is going to end, it would be something like what was being portrayed in the
Mm,
movie. You know what I mean?
yeah, very possibly. Mm.
Like aside from getting hit with like a comet or something like that. I mean, if there was going to be some kind of war event, I think this is how it would go down, honestly.
Yeah, like in my head, I'd like to think that everyone, you know, made it back to that house and they kind of lived for as long as they could in there, and then they all died. That's like my ending, you know. Um, but who knows? Maybe they didn't all make it back to the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I
With
mean,
no
it wasn't a
Negro,
perfect film, but it definitely was good. Enjoyed
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Made me think.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, what do you call it? Wanted to ask you, musical moment of the episode, Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the Kerry King track?
Yeah, I did. And the vocals, that's who the hell's singing in
Mark
his
Oswego from Death Angel. Mark from Death Angel.
all right, yeah. I knew I recognized the voice. And it's good. I'm interested. I only heard the one track, but I want to hear more.
Right. So far, Idle Hands, the single, is the only track available to the general public. The album comes out, I believe, mid-May.
Okay.
It's on that new record label started by, I believe, guys who started Roadrunner back in the day. And I think Deicide is also on this label, something Phoenix, whatever records. But I believe it is the same record label that Deicide record is going to be on. Um, yeah, I mean, he's got some fucking good dudes in the band, Bostoff, fucking, Mark from like Death Angel was a band that I only really liked that third record, Act 3, quite a bit. I didn't really find them until around 90, actually. Like, um, and I never really fucked with the newer stuff that's been on Nuclear Blast that I hear is actually really good, some of those records. A lot of people are saying that his voice kind of just sounds like a younger Tom Araya, and I can definitely hear that. But he's got his own shit going on too. Um, I'm very curious about the rest of the record. I mean, it is definitely reminiscent of what they were doing.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's not too much of a departure.
Right. No. Yeah. I mean, he said a long time ago that it's going to sound like Slayer. And, that's what he does, which is not a surprise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, dude, I'm kind of a Slayer fanboy of sorts. And, well, no, not of sorts. I am. So I want the record to be good. And shit, if they do a show in New York, I'll go see it. I know they're on that Lamb of God. I forget who else that they're going out with. I don't know if it's Pantera. I don't know. They're on tour that is actually not hitting New York City right now, but I'm sure they will play New York City. Kerry King actually lives in New York City now. So, if they play, I'll go see him.
Yeah, I'll be there too, man, for sure. Definitely.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, so the Necromaniac's word on the Idle Hands track is that we both like the song. Seeing some people okay about it, loving it, liking it, not liking it, but Mike and I give it the thumbs up so far. So yeah, fucking
Dude,
hell.
I even have good things to say about Diabolos and Musica too. You know what I mean?
Yes, I need to hunker down again with it. I think it's a record that only that is unfairly judged by the very lackluster song "Stain of Mind," which I really hate. But the rest of it has some quality fucking Slayer songs on it, and yes, ripe for a re-listen. Diabolus and Musica.
I think that yeah, definitely there's some rippers on there. And I think Slayer was a little bit ahead of the curve with the 7-string guitars on that record, because now almost every death metal band is playing 7-string guitars.
Yeah, and that was like 98, I think 98, 99, that
Yeah.
album. It's a weird time for metal. Like new metal was like on fire, and like, uh, if you were listening to like death metal and black metal back then, which Mike and I were, what was really on top was this really shitty like Corn and Saliva, Static X. Like there was just really bad bands under the metal blanket that were making a lot of money and playing in front of a lot of people. And Slayer, actually, I think they took out System of a Down back then, who are actually look, if you're gonna be a band like that, being System of a Down is really not that bad. Because I actually think they also have some good songs, but weird time for metal, 98, 99,
On that tour, the Diabolos and Musica tour, it was I remember it being System of a Down and Clutch, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm so weird about Clutch. Like I like some of the very early stuff, and I've often referred to them as foghorn leghorn metal. I don't know. I can't get into a lot of it. His
I'm not
voice.
a fan. I'm straight up not into a Clutch at all. So I'm just
Oh
gonna
yeah.
make the statement right now.
Yeah, he sounds like the cartoon character Foghorn Leghorn. I can't do it. Um, yeah. So there was a metal moment of the Necromaniacs episode. Um, Tonight, as I said earlier, we're going to be discussing the brand spanking new documentary about the man himself, Dario Argento, titled Dario Argento Panico, which is, of course, Italian for the word panic, Mike Hill.
Yeah, I picked up on that. It's
Yeah.
yeah, and as we had mentioned earlier, Simone Scafidi directed it, and
Mhm.
he also brought us Fulci for Fake, the kind
Yeah.
of docudrama of Lucio Fulci, which was
Mhm.
an excellent thing. And looking forward to I mean, this seems to be his thing, you know?
Mhm. Yes. I want to see what he does next. It would be wild if he chose, Sergio Martino next. I mean, which would only play to, I think, a certain subsect of the horror fan base, but might do very well in Europe and Italy. I could see why Shudder wanted this as an exclusive. I mean, Dario arguably is as popular as ever, and as I've said before on the podcast, I think there is a young person finding Dario Argento every day, much like there is a young person finding the Misfits every day. Mike?
Also we've been sort of going with the theme that these types of movies are like there's like you have to be careful where your entry point is too, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Would
if you
you
stick it out, you'll find some great things there.
you think like a documentary about a director is a good starting point or no?
You know what? I was thinking about that, Mike, when I was watching the movie, because like I'm thinking like it might be interesting for someone just getting into this type of stuff to like watch it first because it
Hmm.
kind of there's really good clips from all the films and something might catch your eye or interest and then you know the title of the movie and then you go and check it out and you're like, oh, this is like you know, all of his films, especially like you think about Inferno and Suspiria, they look different than say Deep Red or
Yeah.
Tenebrae or you know, or the earlier Gialli that he did. And
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
you might find yourself drawn to one era over the other, and now you know what the starting points are.
Yeah, absolutely. First fun fact of the episode is that this is the third Dario Argento documentary. The very first one was Dario Argento's World of Horror, directed by our pal Michele Soavi, right, Michael?
Also in this one.
Yes, yeah, he's in this a lot as one of the talking heads, so to speak. Then there was a second one from 2001 called Dario Argento and Eye for Horror. I own it. I enjoy that as well. And then we have this third one, Dario Argento Panico. Um, yeah, a part of me thinks they kind of are good to watch early on, or maybe after, say you've only watched like two of the big guns. You've watched just Suspiria and maybe just Deep Red, and you immediately, I just want to know more about this director. I would say absolutely watch all three or one or two of these documentaries. I think, you know.
The reason why I like Panico is that it catches Dario at like you know a really interesting part of his life too because you know they have Gaspar Noé on as well who his film Vortex
Hmm.
stars Dario Argento
Yeah.
as a aging gentleman, you know, and Dario speaks a little bit about entering like this sort of twilight era of his life, you know. So this
Mm.
is like a very poignant moment to catch him in, and this documentary captures those moments, and I think that's what's kind of cool about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listeners, in my opinion, this is the best documentary of the three out there. This paints a really interesting picture, and it shows a lot of unseen footage from many of his, catalog of films that I don't think anybody has seen before, which is really great. And he talks about his personal life. We get to meet his first wife that I feel like, people forget about because Dario Nicolodi is really what people who people associated him with. But he had a first wife, whom he had Fiore Argento with, his first daughter, who we talked about in Phenomena as he kills her on screen. And sure enough, they ask her about that, and they ask him about that in this documentary, which I thought was cool. And yeah, I thought that was a really interesting scene. Um, I'd like to definitely point out, who else is in this documentary. Of course, Asia, his daughter, figures heavy in it. Like I said, Fiore, his other daughter, is also in it. His buddies, Lamberto Bava, Luigi Cosi, Franco Ferrini, and Michele Soavi are all in this. And then we have some modern day directors that are certainly acolytes and huge fans of his. They being Guillermo del Toro, Nicholas Winding Refn, and as Mike just said, Gaspar No. And personally, I think they found the three best modern era guys to talk about him. Mike, what do you think?
Definitely, you know, and I mean, I love you know Del Toro. Refn is like I like most of his stuff, and Gaspar I'm a huge fan of. I love everything I've seen by
Yeah.
Gaspar. No,
It's funny. The one other person who I thought they might have dragged in here would have been Tim Burton, actually. And Tim Burton is referenced in the movie, which is it's in a very odd scene when he's talked about by I believe Franco Ferrini, and I watch the scene. You'll probably get a chuckle out of it. The way poor Tim Burton is described by this gentleman, was very odd. But yeah, I think Tim definitely was a fan of both Bava and Argento. Another great moment in this is when Lamberto Bava, of course, the great Mario Bava's son, one of Dario's boys, they talked about how in 1980, when they were filming Inferno in New York City, one night they went to a theater in Manhattan and they went to go see Alien together. Mike, how cool is that?
Excellent. That was really cool. It's good. I always love when you see like people that you consider to be icons, like doing kind of everyday stuff. You hear stories
Mm.
about them going to movies or whatever. You know what I mean? I always find that entertaining.
Just imagine like say you were a horror guy in 1980 going to see Alien in the theater, and you didn't even know that like Lamberto Bava and Dario are watching it with you. That's pretty fucking, trippy,
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely cool.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, Inferno was partially shot in New York City, as some diehards will know. Um, Another really cool thing about this movie is that I feel like it touched on all the major films that it needed to touch on. And then I noticed that it did not touch on the movies that it didn't need to touch on. Uh, Dracula 3D, Mother of Tears, and Giallo are not even uttered in this film. Did you notice that?
I was wondering if they were going to go into the later films, like even
Hmm.
Dark Glasses, which we enjoyed Dark Glasses,
Yes.
but
Well, no,
that's like
they
a
do mention Dark Glasses, though. It is at least mentioned and it is
yeah.
shown on the screen. But there was no mention at all of the movies that I just mentioned, but I found that interesting. I also found it very interesting how they pretty much hit the points on trauma that we hit the other week. Folks, if you did not catch our trauma episode, please do, about how kind of difficult and personal that movie was to make, knowing that it was basically about his other daughter who was suffering from anorexia, unbeknownst to her, and Asia seemed like that was like a hard movie to make for her.
Also, the point was brought up. I forgot which one of the guys brought it up about how that was like kind of the end of the art in his films. Like that was
Yeah,
like his like American film, which is all about just like suffering, and there was none of the artfulness that you saw in like Suspiria and Inferno in present
yeah,
in
yeah.
Trauma and films after that.
And of course, even opera, like is opera okay? Opera is like 87. And then the Two Evil Eyes is 90. Trauma's filming in like 92, comes out in 93. So I would say he was right. I would almost say opera is the last, quote, Italian art one. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the last one that probably the people of Italy really identified with. I think, although I have completely done a, redux mentally of Trauma, and I enjoy it much more now than I did years ago, I would probably figure that to a lot of the European fans or the Italian fans, that it was like a movie,
Probably, yeah, definitely.
Hmm. But yeah, that was an interesting point. I think that might have been Farini as well who actually said that. Um, you know, uh, Everybody had really good things to say. I actually thought Guillermo del Toro, like he seemed to be quite the fan, I felt, or quite the knowledgeable Argento person. He said some really cool stuff. No?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's like you can tell what a huge fan he is, and I love when he pops up in like documentaries, or you hear him interviewed on things about stuff, and
Mm.
it's just really cool to see that he has that enthusiasm about Dario Argento. And
Mm.
yeah, I like Del Toro as a guy too, as well
Yeah,
as
me
his
too,
films.
man. Me too. I'd love to fucking meet him. I have a funny feeling he has a bonkers home video collection, something as does Gaspar No and Refn actually. um,
We're just died
yeah.
about Guillermo del Toro. As have you seen the tours of the Bleak House, which is his like a house where he does some of his office writing and stuff like that, production work, but also is the home of his entire library and curios collection.
Oh no. Mm.
Oh yeah, in LA, there's like house that he owns. It's like a museum slash library slash workspace, and
Nice.
you can look it up on YouTube. There's it's called the Bleak House, Guillermo del Toro's Bleak House. Yeah.
I'll check it out. I kind of I'd like to see him do like, I don't know, something hard, like harder, like, but that may not be his style, but it's just something I want to see. Like, like I want to see him do something harder slash simple, but like with his little flair. I don't know. Can't describe it, but I know what I'd like to see him do, but I'm having a hard time putting into words.
Yeah, like an edgier like horror film, definitely. I like to see that, but what I really would like to see him do, and it's this is why I think I'm so bummed out that James Wan is doing at the
Yeah.
Mountains of Madness, because in my estimation, aside from Richard Stanley, who unfortunately will probably never make any more films, at least in the like Hollywood.
Yes.
Del Toro is the heir to the throne, man. Like he's the guy, in my opinion, who can bring Lovecraft and any kind of cosmic horror to the screen effectively.
100% agree. And hey, if the James Wan thing doesn't work out, Guillermo del Toro is not that old a guy. Maybe he gets his crack at some point, but it should have happened already. Let's be honest. But who knows? We'll see what James Wan can do with H.P. Lovecraft. We could do a whole episode ranting about that decision, but we will not.
We had Claudio Simonetti too has an appearance on this.
Yeah, he does. You know what? I got to tell you, man. We covered Deep Red on the show a couple of years back. Every time, like like footage or the trailer or the music of that movie comes up, man, I get the fucking chills, Mike Hill. I love that fucking movie. Yes.
Oh yeah, and they had that nice cut clip of that creepy ass puppet, man.
Yes.
And that gets me every time too.
And there's a lot of like trailer footage of that movie and like promo footage of that movie that's really effective. And they showed some of that in this movie. And I never tire of Deep Red lore. Like the close up of the eye, putting on the makeup, and just the fucking goblin music is just some of the greatest music to a movie, not just a horror movie, to a movie just ever, in my opinion. So effective.
Yeah, that was another one of my I think that was, I'm going to say 90% certain that was my first Argento film, was Deep Red. And the reason why is it was back in the Video Search of Miami days, where I would blindly order films, VHS copies of laser discs, and the title, because it was known as Deep Red Hatchet Murders too.
That's right. In America, yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the title hooked me in. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like some, really extreme stuff. And I heard about this Italian guy, Dario Argento, and like, so yeah, that was I got that and like one or two other, because like they were cheap. They were dubs. They were just VHS tapes, and it was like, yeah, it was cool. It was interesting. I'd never seen anything like that before. And just the style and everything, kind of grabbed me,
Absolutely. Something else I noticed, I think like the reverence of his fellow, Italian directors and friends in this, like Bava and Cosi, and Michele Soavi, of course, who, really helped, like Dario helped him launch his fucking career, and the respect and reverence really kind of shone through in this, I thought. And I thought that was really nice.
Well, Michele Soavi made one of my all-time favorite movies, man. Like he made Della Morte dell'Amore, and also he did The Church, which is another great film too.
Yeah, Dario
Demons,
produced that. Yeah. I mean, totally instrumental in his career, and you could see the love there. You know what I'm saying? Interesting. Asia's looking a little different these days, I've thought, Mike. I still love her. She's still my girl. She looks like a woman who's been through a lot, and hell, she has been through a lot in her life, tragedies and whatnot. some interesting things there. I learned for the first time. I never knew that she was supposed to be the female lead in The Card Player, which is an okay late era Dario Argento movie, and that she could not do it as she was filming The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things in America at the time, which she starred and directed in, and that Dario was so incensed that they did not speak for, quote, years. I found that very interesting, Mike.
It kind of blew my mind, actually. These passionate Mediterranean types,
Mm.
Yeah, that kind of blew me away, that for years they had a rift as a result of that.
Yeah, it was kind of sad to hear that. And it was interesting to note, while there was footage of Fiore and Dario together in the same room, we actually don't get the footage of Dario and Asia together in the same room. It's separate interviews. Perhaps that was due to scheduling. They're both busy people. Dario comes off sometimes a little curmudgeonly in this, which I actually found very endearing and cool. What do you think?
Right at the beginning, when they were in the car, he's like,
Yes.
can we find a place closer to home? Like, how far we, it's like,
They're doing a documentary about you, and you don't give a fuck. How great is that? I mean, he gave a fuck, but not like a lot. Like, I love that about him. Okay. I think friend of the show, Mark Yoshitomi, mentioned something to me, and I hope I'm getting this right. Dario spoke in New York a couple of years ago, not that long ago at all. And I believe, Mark, I was supposed to go, but I couldn't go. And I sold my ticket to this dude on Facebook. Okay. And there was a Q&A at the end. And somebody asked like a stupid question, like a dumb question. And I can't remember what the question was. And Dario said, "Why would you ask me that?" Like something like,
sick.
"Why did you ask that?" Like something very like, it was probably in that moment very fucking funny and like, oh my God. Like, like he was like kind of not having it, Mark said. So it's pretty great.
So like the scene where they have the guy at the what's in your pocket scene,
Yes. Wow.
from the old, like from the 70s, and then more recently, and he has like a phone, and the guy asked him the question about, like, how do you feel like people can get in touch with you anytime? He's like, oh, no, they can't. It's like, I just put it on silent and ignore everyone calling me.
Two things I wanted more of. Okay. Number one was the interesting thing about his mom. His mom was a very famous, apparently extremely famous photographer of like celebrities in Italy in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And his dad produced all of his movies. His dad was a big movie producer. His dad produced like his first, I don't know, 6, 7 movies basically, and it
I
was
didn't really
largely a
know that,
family affair.
honestly. I didn't really
What's that?
know that until I watched the documentary.
Oh, I knew about the dad. That I knew. Um, didn't know too much about the mom. His mom's, very pretty woman, and that apparently like the mom had to stop becoming a photographer as like the family grew and things changed, and she was very not happy about that. And all of the family photos, like she never took a single photo of her own family after the fact. Like they mentioned that, and I thought that was very interesting. Like, and Asia said that as well, and Dario mentioned that, I believe, too, in his biography, about how his mother was a photographer who would not photograph her own family, which is kind of interesting. No.
Yeah, there's just that emotional thing that Italian families, like, I know my family can be that way too about some things.
Yeah, Dario's dad Salvatore produced an ass ton of his movies and was very instrumental in his career. Dario was a privileged kid. I mean, he was born during World War II. His family had money. His parents did very well. He started out as a film critic, but he was basically surrounded by, you know, like celebrity from a child, or at least Italian celebrity.
Yeah.
And in a way you could say was kind of destined for greatness. And prior to directing Bird with Crystal Plumage, he had not really directed anything ever, actually, which is unbelievable when you watch Bird with Crystal Plumage. No.
Yeah, definitely. That's maybe just being exposed to like,
Mhm.
high standards like that probably, gave him like a, like a motivation, I guess.
Yeah. And the second thing I wanted more of was, well, Daria Nicolodi. I felt like there wasn't much said about her at all, to be honest. And Asia brought up the interesting thing. I also didn't know that there was a strife behind the scenes about Suspiria. She is credited as a co-writer. They both have that writing credit and that creation credit, I believe. But according to Asia, no, that is her mother's story entirely, about the witches, and
Yep.
it's about her great grandmother going to a boarding school that was ran by witches. Like apparently, it is a family story, which I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's prompting me to watch Suspiria again. Actually, I'm
Mhm.
now after watching the documentary, I'm like, man, I need to hit Suspiria and Inferno again and
Yes.
just absorb because those are my two favorite Dario films for
Uh,
obvious reasons. I mean, they're everyone's favorite movies, but there's a
right,
reason
right.
why. You know what I mean?
I would urge the listeners, and you to go to the Animal trilogy again. I did a rewatch of Four Flies on Gray Velvet. I managed to score one of those Blu-rays, which I believe are gone now, from Severin. Man, that's a fucking good movie. It's so good. And it was interesting where his first wife is like, that's me in that movie. That's our relationship. I was like, holy shit. She did look just like the actress, I believe, Mimsy Farmer. I want to get that right. Um, and their relationship was falling apart at the time of that movie. So it's like Dario seems to have done that quite a bit. And you know what? I think they say that's the sign of a good writer when you write what you know and you put yourself in the book or the novel, the story. But it's also the sign, I think, of a good director. He's put his life in a good chunk of his movies, and of course, often unbeknownst to the people that it's about until after the movie is already underway. So I thought that was really cool.
There's definitely a sense that a lot of his films are very personal. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's also I want to. This is a little irreverent, I guess. Young Dario Argento looks like he could have been one of the Ramones.
yes, he had that haircut. Yes, he
Dario
definitely did.
Ramone.
And was it? Yeah, pretty much, man. He had an interesting look. I mean, I feel like a lot of really creative, eccentric types have their own odd look. They often don't look like Brad Pitt, Mike. They often kind of look like Dario looks like Dario. And it's repeated a bunch in this documentary that Dario is Dario. There is one Dario, and he's, what I'm saying? And I kind of really understood what they were getting at with that. Um, but he has a charm about him, and I mean I could see, I mean, Jesus Christ, in the early 70s, mid 70s, women completely being drawn to him in Italy for sure. No.
Commented on that after his divorce that he had many girlfriends.
Yes, he did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this, he's a character, man. I mean, and I like that towards the end of the documentary, folks, he in 2019 or 2020, at what is basically the Italian Oscars, he gets a lifetime achievement award. It's like a director in America getting the lifetime achievement award at the Oscars. He got it in Italy, and he was with Asia, and they got home, and he said, so what? Not a big deal. Who cares? Because he said it's not about the rewards, it's about the work. How fucking great is that, Mike?
That's a sign of like an artist, really. I mean,
Yeah.
none of these people that we respect or look up to really acknowledge any kind of awards or, it's like nice, I guess, but that's not why they do it. You know what I mean? And he talks about fear and making these films and how it's a bride that he's seeking, afraid
Mhm.
of rejection, like all this like
Right.
really intense, like, imagery about making films. And it's like, you're like, yeah, this guy's like a driven, total creative person.
Yeah. I mean, look, that must have been a wonderful moment, though. I mean, for him. But ultimately, he didn't care, and like you don't hear a lot of artists say that often, and it was very refreshing that it was to him. It was cool. It was nice, but not a big deal at all. The work is what matters. The work continues, and he's like Scorsese. He doesn't seem to have a retirement plan. You know, he's in his
Reckon.
early 70s now, and he's still going. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I hope it doesn't stop actually, and yeah, it's just refreshing to, like you were saying, to see that.
Absolutely. I mean, he definitely reminds me of Scorsese with the work ethic and the do whatever I want kindness about him. I would say Scorsese might be a bit of a friendlier man. Um, but I kind of like that he doesn't suffer fools, and that he doesn't like crowds. Like he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like he likes what he likes, and he's kind of, set in his ways. And I think Dark Glasses, look, we reviewed it on the show. We both enjoyed the hell out of it. Was it deep red? No, but it was a solid horror film, and it was miles better than the two or three before it. And I thought it was really cool that he could churn a movie out like that now.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoyed that. For
Yeah.
any guys out there who are listening to this, we've been going pretty hard with Argento the last few episodes, and you are a Shudder subscriber. There's several of his films are on Shudder right now, so definitely
Oh
keep
yeah.
this documentary and then rip through the other Dario movies and and get back to us. Let us know.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, Yeah, I really enjoyed the hell out of this, and I hope that it reaches, new fans, and I hope his diehard fans check it out. Um, it's been reviewed in the New York Times, it's been reviewed on Roger Ebert. It's getting a lot of press, Mike. Isn't that cool?
And it does. It feels like Dario Argento. There's like he's like you were saying earlier. He's not forgotten. He's very much in the consciousness of people these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, which makes me wonder if anything else. Look, we had the Suspiria remake. Suspiria remake is not a terrible movie by any means. Okay, it's just that I think it was hard for certain big Dario fans to really digest and ingest and cuddle up to. Whereas I found certain less, Dario diehards enjoyed the hell out of it. Um, I want to see it again. I have not seen it since I saw it in the theater. I'd like to see it again. I did not hate it, but I feel like I need a fresh viewing of it to give it yet another kind of take. We did review it on the show a long time ago, did we not, Mike?
Feel like not like wanting to not like it, going
Right.
into it with an attitude, but
Mhm.
I think that if I watched it again, I might have a different opinion about it because I do catch myself thinking about that movie here and there.
Yes. But what I was getting at was how, since Dario is really kind of in the zeitgeist, I feel like, in America right now and in horror, is that, do you foresee another one of his bangers getting remade, perhaps?
Do I see that or do I want that?
Could you see it? Could
It's
you
like
see an American, like, an American film, basically? Or, or maybe not, or Suspiria remake was not necessarily a quote American film, but a modern remake of one of his bangers.
I don't think it's out of the question, especially since there seems to be a lot of attention on Argento these days. And
Right.
however, do I think it would depend whether or not I want that to happen or not would depend on
Yes.
who did the remake. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Look, movies like Deep Red and Tenebrae, say those two in particular, right? They're fairly cut and dry, and updating them in a modern setting, right? I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't be so out of outlandish. Um, to me, I kind of felt that the Suspiria remake drew heaps of new eyes and new attention on the maestro, and ultimately was a good thing. Even if you didn't like the movie, or if the movie wasn't even that good, it elevated Dario. And if Dario could get some more elevation, then I think that's a good thing. So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I'm going to get wild for a second here, and this is very unlikely to ever happen, but I would love to see Abel Ferrara remake Tenebrae.
Wow. That would, I mean, look, Tenebrae gets pretty harsh. He would make Tenebrae harsher.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like I can visualize what a film like that would be like.
Yeah, look, Tenebrae has layers to it. Deep Red has even more layers to it. And I think, I don't know, I see it's a great story. I mean, I know people who've seen it and were like, I really didn't think that was the killer. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know how it was gonna end or whatnot, And the same for Tenebrae. They both have those really cool endings. Tenebrae's ending to me is one of the greatest fucking thriller, giallo, whatever endings ever. Uh, but the thing is, again, it all depends on the director. Depends on if it's going to be a shot for shot. Is it going to be completely retooled? Is it going to be whatever? But again, I just think I'm okay with it, if only to elevate and put more eyes on Dario. Although some horror fans right now might be angry because they're like, does he need more elevation? Does he need more eyes? I mean, don't we know who he is at this point? Yeah, 2 cents.
So as far as what kind of grade do you give this one, Mike?
Well, I am giving this a 4.5 out of 5. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't give it a 5 because I wanted a little more, actually. It's not even all that long. It's about 90 something minutes. In a way, it's kind of perfect for like the newer fan. It left me wanting more. So yes, 4.5 out of 5.
I give it a 4.5 too, Mike. And for similar reasons. I actually, there's so much material in his catalog that a multi-part miniseries, docu-series about Dario Argento, I think, is in order.
100%. And I wonder what was left out,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And honestly, I think Daria Nicolodi needs a fucking doc of her own, straight up. I'm sorry, she was a very interesting woman with a great career and probably had a great story to tell. She died of cancer a few years ago. I remember meeting her at Chiller, and it was like one of my Chiller highlights was getting to meet her and getting her autograph. And I asked her a bit about Asia, and I'll never forget that moment of my horror fandom. Yeah, I think she needs a bit of a spotlight on her life, and I almost feel like Ozzy would be the one to maybe make that happen. And yeah, and it would be nice to have Asia do the convention circuit. She doesn't really do that. I've said that many times before, but maybe one day, who knows?
That would be cool if she led a documentary, Asia Argento,
Yeah, about her mom. That would be
Daria
fucking really
Nicolodi.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would be really behind that.
totally. So yeah, that is Dario Argento Panico, as we said, streaming exclusively on Shudder, and it's our first. Is it our first new movie of the year, Mike? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I
it
think
is. Yes.
when did maybe let me look. Was Leave the World Behind? Is that 2024?
No, that's like October, November of 23.
All
It's
right, yeah. So
November, I
this
think.
is our
November.
first new movie of the year. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. And listeners, don't worry, it will not be the last. uh, we like to kind of, wintertime slow rollout. We will be covering new films. Don't you worry. But we're having a great time, doing the Dario deep dive, and we hope you guys are enjoying it. We're going to get into some Fulci stuff soon. And yeah, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, well, a lot of new films haven't really hit yet. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's you know, I'm actually going to see a new movie this weekend because
Ooh,
I'm not going to be home for Valentine's Day.
uh-huh.
So we're having a Valentine's Day celebration this weekend, and we're gonna go see Tina Frankenstein.
Oh, very cool. I heard about that.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
Awesome. Uh, listeners, we hope you have a great Valentine's Day, right, Mike?
Yeah, for all you lovers out there,
For all you
happy
lovers.
Valentine's.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, send us your DMs on Instagram. Leave us a voicemail. Check out the other horsemen, and we will see you next time.
Care, everyone. Talk to you soon.